Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So a lot of people were saying rumours and speculation that Gran Turismo 7 would get an update next Thursday alongside the launch of the PlayStation 5 Pro. However, you guys may have noticed that there haven't actually been any silhouettes this weekend. Now in typical Gran Turismo fashion, when an update is about to launch, the weekend prior we get the silhouettes of the cars. A lot of people do a lot of guessing and kind of wondering what these cars are going to be, and then of course we get the reveal and the trailer on a Wednesday and the full update launch on a Thursday. That is typical. Sometimes it does change from month to month. However, with the PS5 Pro launching on a Thursday and October's update launching at the beginning of October instead of the end, a lot of people assume this would put it in line with the launch of the PS5 Pro at the beginning of November. So I've seen a lot of different people say a lot of different things over the last month or so in the run up to the PS5 Pro launch, and I'm going to go through each possibility of what these could be and the likelihood of them actually happening. Now, just to say that there's been nothing concrete from Sony or Polyphony themselves that there'll actually be any 2024 November content update. Again, the only thing we do know for pretty much certain is that the PS5 Pro will get an upgraded version of Gran Turismo 7. So let's start off then with probably the least favourable of the bunch, but absolutely the most least likely of the bunch we know for certain, which is going to be no update. Now we know absolutely for sure that Gran Turismo 7 is going to get some form of upgrade to it for the PS5 Pro. The likes of in-game ray tracing instead of just in the, I believe, replays and photo mode. So it will actually have ray tracing during the races on the PS5 Pro, as well as I believe an experimental 8K mode and such like that. So we know that there is at least going to be some form of update this month. Of course, it could just be for the PS5 Pro, which is going to lead me into the next point. So next up, PS5 Pro Hardware Only update. This one we know is going to be the absolute bare minimum for November. Of course, this is something that we saw when the likes of the PSVR 2 launched, that the actual implementation of the hardware and update got put into the game, I believe a couple of days prior to the actual next update. Now, of course, that launched on, I believe, a Tuesday, and with the console launching on a Thursday, the typical update day, this will probably all happen at once. Of course, this is the absolute bare minimum that has been confirmed, that there will be some upgrades to GT7 alongside the PS5 Pro. So this one I'm going to bundle together in the same category, a late/no teaser update. Now, in terms of the late teaser update, this is something we saw earlier on this year when the Skoda VGT was kind of, hyped up for a live event and then launched inside of Gran Turismo 7. But however, before the actual live event, there was a leak which gave away all three of the cars anyway, thanks to, I believe, PlayStation Poland this time around, that basically put up the teaser for the update, and of course the update did eventually come. So this is a possibility that even from Monday onwards that we might still see the silhouettes, or it could just be a case in the form of a no teaser update that they'll just go ahead and drop a trailer on the Wednesday showing off the content coming alongside the PS5 Pro enhanced version of Gran Turismo 7. So again, both of these are a possibility. Not all the time do we see the actual silhouettes launch on a weekend. Sometimes they can be on a weekday. It's very rare, but it has happened in the past. And of course, there is a possibility that they might just not do silhouettes this month and just go ahead and do it in a trailer, of course, the day prior to the PS5 Pro's launch, and of course the next Gran Turismo 7 update launch. So this is a possibility. So this one I don't think is a massive possibility. That is the thought of a late November content update. Practically PD going ahead and splitting the update so that the hardware update comes alongside the PS5 Pro at the beginning of November, and then the content comes in the typical in line with everything else last Thursday of the month for the end of November. Again, I don't think this one's really that possible, or why they'd actually do this, considering that the new console launches, you want people to kind of check out your game and check out what it's running like on the new hardware, for them to just say like, we're not actually going to put proper content in it. Now I wouldn't put it past Polyphony, but I just think this would be a little bit daft. What better way to get people on your game on the new console than actually putting new content alongside the new hardware? Okay, so moving away from the launch or possibly no launch of updates, let's talk about the size of them. Let's begin with a small update. I think this is probably the biggest possibility of any content update. Now I know a lot of people have been under the assumption that of course with the new hardware, Polyphony will go ahead and launch a massive update alongside it, bring a lot of players back to go ahead and test it, and it'll be all fine and well, some kind of massive spec free type update. And honestly don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. Yes, we got a smaller update in October, but honestly the updates for Gran Turismo 7 have really kind of slowed down this year, and I wouldn't put it past Polyphony to just do a typical update alongside the new hardware. Maybe 3 to 5 cars if we're lucky, 3 to 5 events if we're lucky, some new scapes, and really nothing more. I genuinely don't think we'll get some big spec free type update. I would love to be proven wrong on this one, but honestly I think the biggest possibility if we did get a content update would be the hardware update and then a smaller content update. So of course that leads me on to a massive update which I've named as spec free. I've seen a few comments kind of referring to a bigger update as a spec free type update, and I thought it was just quite funny. I don't think we've ever had a spec free update ever to a Gran Turismo title, and I don't think we ever will. So honestly, in terms of a massive update, a new track, a bunch of new cars, a bit like Spec 2 like we saw in November last year, I would absolutely love this alongside a PS5 Pro, but again I just think the chances of this are slim. Of course there is a lot of rumours circulating of Polyphony are working on the likes of Motegi. Of course there's a whole league car list with a lot of cars missing off it, so this would be the perfect time to compile a massive update with a bunch of cool events, a bunch of cool new cars, and of course to coexist with the PS5 Pro, get as many players back as possible and really show off this game on that new hardware to as many new players as possible. But I really don't think this will necessarily be the case. Like I said, I would love to be proven wrong and this is the case, that it'll be a huge massive update with Kaz cooking some absolute bangers for us in November. Again, November does seem to be a typical month of decent updates. Of course in 2022 we got the selling of cars and of course the new track, I believe it was Road Atlanta, I believe that we got, or Road America, I always get those confused. And of course in November of 2023 we got Spec 2. So to go in line with the typical bigger updates of a November month, a spec free type big track update and a bunch of cars would be absolutely fantastic. I don't necessarily think this is the case, but I would love to be proven wrong. So let's move on to my final thoughts on what I believe will happen. I think absolutely for certain we'll see some type of update, of course, to coexist with the PS5 Pro and get it all implemented in terms of the upgraded version. However, I'm a little bit on the fence if we'll actually receive any kind of content update. I think this would genuinely be the perfect time to get as many players back as possible once again, a little bit like Spec 2 did, but I genuinely just wouldn't put it past Polyphony at this point. I know a lot of people will say, oh, you make Gran Turismo content all the time, you should have faith in them, which I do in the sense of actually producing a good game. When they get rolling, they make some absolutely incredible content. However, it's a very, very small team in comparison to a lot of others, and I don't necessarily think they have the manpower to push out massive update after massive update. Do I think it's time we got a real world track alongside the likes of some of those league cars? Absolutely. But do I think that's necessarily going to be the case? Not really. So at this time, honestly, just wait for an official message from Kaz, Polyphony or Sony to see what's happening with Gran Turismo 7 in regards to a November 2024 update. Anyway, thanks so much for going through these with me. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.